We're good to go.
Hi there. The Monday meeting for CLA. My name is Brett Sayers. I'm the director for Monday meetings. I just have a couple announcements to mention. We extended our registration deadline up until this Friday night. So join if you haven't registered yet. And Wednesday at 5 p.m. there's going to be Big Utility is going to present on market awareness. So it's going to be virtual. Join that if you could. We also have a Thursday evening meeting where Mas will talk about how to develop skills to apply in the professional world. Join that if you can as well. This Saturday, we also have a hike to Hollywood, so definitely join us if you can. And also, if you haven't attended yet, join Meet the Firms. It's going to be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Register if you can, and you get to network as many people as you could. Now, I just want to mention that I am interning for CLA, and I worked with Jason Unger ever since January, so I would like to professionally introduce you to Mr. Unger.
Daryl also joining me. Daryl is our CFO. Thank you so much, you all, for the warm welcome. So I'm Jason Unger. I've been at CLA for 2 years. I'm working in our private client tax department, but my industry is professional services. I didn't start out interning at the firm, started straight off as a staff after I graduated here in spring 2019.
And I'm Daryl Reeves. I'm actually a consulting CFO, so I'm not like the CFO for all of CLA. CLA has like about 8,000 employees, so that would be like a really big job. So what I do is I consult with nonprofits primarily as a chief financial officer, what they call as a fractional CFO. So I work with multiple firms at the same time, not just for one company. So I've only been there about a year, but I have about 30 years experience working in accounting. For profits and not for profits, and so go back quite a bit. Nice to be here. Nice to see everybody.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that's our introduction. Okay, who is CLA? So CLA is the 8th largest professional services firm in the US, with revenue surpassing $1.2 billion annually. We have more than 7,400 CLA family members in 120 locations from coast to coast, and we continue to grow. CLA has big firm resources with a small firm feel. Whether you want to work in a bustling metropolitan area or a small town, CLA has big firm resources to back you up no matter where you are. We also have a global partnership with Nexia International, so we can serve clients wherever they are. So one thing that I wanted to point out is actually we have 120 office locations across the US. And so if you notice, they're not evenly dispersed. We have these strategically placed hubs. So you'll see here in like Southern California, we have 6 SoCal offices alone. And so I think that this is the intention here, since CLA has mostly grown through mergers and acquisitions of smaller firms. The intention is to have these hubs to best serve the clients in the area. So we also have our CLA Comments. And so we have our comments here at the top, the purpose, promise, family culture, and then we have the values here at the bottom. So I'm going to tell you all a little bit about the purpose. So as an example of our purpose, possibly we prepare a business's annual tax return, but we can also provide the opportunity to have them outsource their accounting to us. Maybe this takes a burden off of the client because they don't need to hire an internal bookkeeper or accounting manager. Our promise: in your career, we want to give you work you're interested in and that feels meaningful to you. And we have our family culture, and so that's the big firm, small office kind of feel. And the strategic advantage, as an example, if I have a question about a state and local issue when I'm preparing a tax return, I can email a special team for help. The idea of the inspired career relates to the idea that you're building a career and you get to express what type of work you are most interested in. So possibly, as an example, possibly I'm in our private clients department and possibly I'm interested in working on not-for-profit tax returns. So I can express that and they can try to arrange a way for me to get more of those kinds of experiences.
Yeah, I'd just like to add on too, and you know, Jason's considerably younger than me, so like even at my age at 51, like, oh my God, there's all these other things that I can do. I've been doing like this type of work in nonprofits for like the last 20 years, and it's been kind of the same old, even though it wasn't for CLA, but the work that I'm doing when I brought it to CLA is still kind of similar. So like, there's so many opportunities even at, you know, any level throughout the organization. So like, say you're working in something for 2 years, you're like, I kind of like that, but I'm really interested in working in international finance. And that's what happened with me. Like, we're actually going to start partnerships with a London firm and doing some exchange program type of employee exchanges. And like, oh my gosh, I can actually get involved with international finance, even though I'm in nonprofits. And there's like different groups. There's actually an international group called the International Not-for-Profit Organization, where they actually are trying to collectively bring together financial statements to look more uniform throughout the world, so they're not different in every country. And so there's like stuff like that keeps popping up and excites me. And so that's really cool for me working for a larger firm like CLA with about 8,000 employees, that there's just so much opportunity out there to change it. And have that available.
Yeah. Why don't you take it away, Rob?
All right. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I'm excited about this as well. I think that, you know, when I was growing up, you know, this was kind of addressed in the 80s, but it's really nice to see that companies are actually doing more about this. So, you know, we actively learn, listen, and reflect on diversity, and we just don't talk about it. Like at some companies, they will just talk about it, but I really do see it, you know, in there, in the organization. And as somebody that is, you know, a diverse background myself, I really feel comfortable being able to discuss my background and such. So we hear the voices of our underrepresented family members. We encourage people to not feel like they're in the closet or like feel like they can't talk to somebody about personal stuff, about problems they have. So I really appreciate that. We see that CLA is a safe place for all. And we do have a DEI implementation strategy team, you know, so we actually have people that are leading this charge throughout all of our different hubs. So like our Southern California offices have a person that's dedicated to ensuring that we have these opportunities for all and make sure that we're all making everybody feel inclusive, no matter what their backgrounds are. Some questions about that? All right. So creating opportunities for our clients, gosh, we have so many. I mean, like, I work in the nonprofit sector, and I know that we have like 10,000 or 12,000 nonprofit clients, and I only deal with like 10 of them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, throughout the whole country, we're dealing with that many. But right now, we have 200,000 active clients. And when we say we have active clients, I mean, we have, you know, the tax department, assurance department. We have our BizOps department, which I'm going to touch on that just for 1 second, because I don't think people even know that exists. Because like when you think of accounting, you think of bookkeeping, you think of taxes, right? So I work in the division where, you know, we go out to companies where right now it's mostly remote. So like I'm a chief financial officer. So I'm helping these companies that might not have a CFO or a controller or assistant controller, and working with leadership to like put together budgets, making sure that their books or their financials are closed on time every month, and producing financial reports that are meaningful, like budgets to actuals. They might have different divisions, like, you know, if you say you work for a company that sells or has a nonprofit that has different divisions, like United Way, you know, they have a community impact division, and then they have a marketing department, and then they have an accounting department. So like they have different financials to make sure they know what's going on. So that's what the BizOps does. They consult with companies to do that kind of work. So outside of tax and insurance.
Does CLA offer an internship for biz ops?
We do, yeah, we actually, BizOps is somewhat new to CLA, in my opinion, I want to say within the last few years. And like my job didn't even exist when I applied. So I applied for this job online and it was a CFO job, but it was out of San Francisco. I'm like, well, I live in Los Angeles. Like, do you have an office here? And like, there was one down the street from me in Century City. So we're developing internships throughout all of our products. It's really nice to be able to have that option. Like, you don't have to go into tax. You don't even have to be a CPA. You can actually work for this firm and not be a CPA, but have the experience. But you know, having a CPA, to be honest, is very helpful, especially when you're new, to have that credentials. If you're older and you have 30 years experience, a lot of times they're like, you know, why not? You know, it just depends on your desires.
That's such a good point. I was just gonna say, so like CLA markets itself is like professional services firm. So yes, there's the audit and tax that everybody knows, but then like you said, there's like these other kinds of services. They have like valuation, wealth management on top of the BizOps. BizOps is like huge, I want to say, in like Pasadena and Century City, growing in Century City a little bit more. And Daryl worked really closely with Eli, who was one of the BizOps interns.
Yeah,
So
right.
So internships available. Truthfully, I didn't see it this last semester. Like, I know that y'all are probably looking on like Handshake and like the external website. I didn't see the BizOps intern requisition open, but this coming semester, check in on that. Okay.
Actually, go back to that last one. I yapped too much. I don't think I touched on one. Yeah, these are the types of firms. So like within the firm, you know, we have for-profit and nonprofit, but you can see the number of firms. So it's only 9,000. I think it did grow to 10 or 11. So,
Well, you know, these slides
you
are
know,
from,
a couple of years old probably. Right?
these slides are like 6 months old.
Yeah. So like, it's so funny because like I said, I had applied for the job in San Francisco and I was like, gonna move back. I'm from San Francisco. So I'm like, you know, I wouldn't mind moving back to San Francisco, but then they're like, well, no, just stay in Los Angeles. I'm all right, I'll stay, whatever. But it's nice to have that flexibility. Like in November, I flew out to Arlington, Virginia, and we have an office near DC. So I actually was working my current job right now, but I was working in another office. So it was kind of like a vacation/work thing. So, you know, it's nice to have that flexibility going around the country. So in certain regions of the United States, they have more focus. Like in DC, we have a really, of course, governmental presence there. So we deal with a lot of governmental types of organizations. So healthcare is a big growth area. Higher education, serving, you know, colleges, clients engaging with benefit plans. There's like all kinds of opportunities. I think that's enough. Any other questions on that? I hope I blabbed too long about that. There's just so much opportunity on there. I wanted to talk a little bit more. There's a lot of things.
There's a ton of opportunities.
This one's you, right?
This is me.
Your turn.
All right. So here's the makeup of our CLA family members. So a little bit old, but in 2020, we added 1,800 people to join CLA. And I think one point that I wanted to mention was, for example, there was a tax firm on the 3rd floor of our building called Wild & Company. And so they merged with us mid-pandemic in 2020. And we're on the 16th floor of our building. So they joined us. So people are joining the firm all the time. One unique thing that I wanted to point out was there in the middle, you see 222 alumni rejoined CLA. That is, they left the firm to do something else for whatever reason, and they came back. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you all about this really unique thing. It's so we have a CLA Foundation. So CLA has its own private foundation. It was established in 2015. And the unique thing is that it's fully funded by contributions like from employee paychecks. So for example, an outside donor cannot donate to the CLA Foundation. It's purely by our employees or family members. We call them family members. So fully funded by CLA family members. And since its inception in 2015, the CLA Foundation has granted $4.7 million, which has created opportunities through more than 370 grants to organizations across the country. there was another point that I wanted to make apart from, oh, the other cool thing is that actually it's the CLA family members that are choosing which organizations they would like the foundation to donate to. So all the contributions and all the organizations donated to are by our family members. Yeah.
When I first started working at CLA, they kept talking about family members. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't want to work with them. Like, they're gonna call me fat or money and call me bald, and like, that's not that very. But now I get it.
Please come in. Please come
Because nobody explained, like, when I started, I got kind of hired really quick, and there's no people, family members. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Why is my family getting? But anyway, sorry. So Inspired Careers at CLA. So we feel like, I really feel like they really do back this up, because how can I say this? Like, I didn't want to work for a CPA firm growing up. Like, I'm like, oh, don't know. Like, that sounds horrible. Like, scratch my eyes out and scrape my teeth. And I felt like there's no way I'm gonna work for CPA firm. It's just so boring. Like, you're gonna be working day in, day out, very grueling work. And I have to admit, we do work hard, but I feel like CLA really does go out of their way to try to provide some character and some, you know, I joke around about the family member stuff, and I get why they do that, and I'm still kind of skeptical on the family part, but like, I get why they do that. They're really making an effort, and I joke around about it to like try to make it feel like a good family, not a dysfunctional one. So they do their best. Now there's dysfunction at any firm, but I really do feel like, you know, they make a really concerted effort to do so, because with all you guys know about the Great Resignation, that people are quitting their jobs, and that's because they're unhappy either with their work or their leader. And personally, for me, a lot of people leave because they don't like their boss, not the company. So I feel as though CLA as a company is really trying hard to recognize what's going on in the workplace, and really trying to bring people together and talk with their employees, not just do these meetings where you're talking with people in Zoom meetings, like to actually take them to lunch, do stuff with them, and not annoy them. Like, you don't want to go to lunch, that's fine, I'm gonna force you, but to really engage and find out what's going on. Like with my boss, like, I'm very engaged, because I'm like, after 1 year, like, this part of the job isn't working for me. It's a problem, and they're listening. So we're trying to make changes to do so. And my job's new, so I'm like, I understand it's new. You guys didn't really know what to do with me. I need to help with the situation. And they really do listen. So that's something that I really appreciate. Let's see. So we got the director career path. So I'm at a director path. I'm not a principal. And so the director career path is somebody that probably has, you know, 10 years experience. Somebody like Jason, who is a associate, you know, what, 2 years? You started from right out of the school.
Right over here.
He's doing very well. 2 years under his belt. So like the next level would be a senior associate, or and then they have what they call a manager level. So you're probably in here like 4 or 5 years. Sometimes you can move up sooner. It just depends. Into a manager level, and usually like you're a manager for about 5 years, and then you probably start looking at like the director level. And so that's somebody with like 10 years experience. You might have a couple managers working with you. You have more responsibility, and I feel it's very rewarding. Like, I personally like to work with a mentor and work with people, and especially young faces. It's really a delight to work with people such as yourself that are new and so excited to get into the workplace. I remember when I was there a long time ago in the 80s. So it's really exciting. And then the principal career path is kind of like a step up from the director path. So like the director is like a step up above manager, but the principal has more responsibility. So when you have an organization with 8,000 employees, you probably have about, I want to say like 800 principals. Those are people that are engaged with the organization where they're bringing in more business, like they're doing some outreach and meeting with potential new clients and actually bringing business to the firm. So they have their regular director responsibilities. I actually do the principal level job. I just started with the firm in March. I haven't even been there a year yet. And so my next level would be the career path. I'm already working on the sales piece and mentoring and directing. Because I'm so freaking old, I just. So then the alumni career path is the people that are going to leave. So like say somebody like me, I'm 51, say, you know, I'll probably work another 10 years. Around 60, 61, I'll probably say, I want to retire at 65. So the alumni career path is like, you know, we're getting ready to retire. And perhaps you might still be engaged with CLA, but you might not be working there. We actually do have retirees that work for CLA, but they're not full-time. They're doing more project-based, which is kind of cool. Like, oh my God, I want to do that now. That sounds like a lot of fun. Like, I only want to work like 3 days a week for like 3 months out of the year and I'm done. I'll see you next year. So my boss doesn't think that's funny. He's like, whatever. So any questions about that? I mean, I really glazed over it. There's so many different opportunities.
So actually the next slide, it really wonderfully like goes over like exactly what you said. And so like I guess like CLA always highlights, it's not a vertical path where you're going, you know, from associate to principal, it's horizontal, you're on a bike, you know, you're moving along. And so just as Daryl said, the important one to highlight is the alumni path. So notice how it's going in both directions. So one can potentially, you know, the typical example is like, say your family owns like a bakery. And so, you know, one day it's going to be on you to run this bakery, right? So you're working at CLA for now, and after 5 years, it's not you giving a 2-week notice, it's after 5 years, you know, I want to run my family's bakery. So you can say, okay, well, we're going to make sure that you have more experience working in like the food and beverage industry, possibly some business management opportunities for you, that kind of thing. And then notice, again, it's going both ways, so you can go your alumni route, but come back. And then the other thing, as Zero mentioned, we have 2 paths, the director and manager. They're both equal level. However, the director path focuses more on the existing clients, whereas the manager is external facing and they're trying to earn new business for the firm.
I didn't even know that. No, seriously, you just told me, like, I thought I was doing this. So they liked.
No, you're here, aren't you?
I'm here, but like my boss is here and he goes, you want to be a signing director? I'm like, oh no, I don't want your job. That sucks. I want to be here. So like I'm in the wrong box.
So this is sort of like you're trying to get like the new clients.
That's what I do. That's all I ever do. I don't even work.
That's what
So you have a title of director, but you're functionally a manager.
Yes.
So tell me, we were talking about this the other day. You said, yeah, I'm on so many calls, like trying to get the new
Yeah, that's
business.
all I do is bring in new business. So like I don't even know what the hell I'm doing.
So,
So I
okay.
shouldn't say that.
But it just means somebody needs to be talked to.
Yeah. That's the problem with coronavirus. Like I've never even met my boss. Like who's this person on the screen? Like it could be like a robot. I wouldn't even know. Anyway, sorry.
No, but somebody needs to talk to. Okay, so my CV. Oh yeah, so just so you all know, similar to like most other firms, CLA makes sure that you're provided with your CPA study materials and such as upon graduation. I think, so we're using Becker similar to other firms, but I think one thing to highlight is most firms are doing reimbursements on an ad hoc basis, meaning I paid $300 to sit for this exam. Now you reimburse me $300. Okay, CLA doesn't do that. You're paid a one-time pre-exam bonus. It's $2,000. So you get the study material and in addition $2,250 one-time bonus. As soon as you provide your notice to sit, and that's supposed to cover all your exam fees moving forward. However, keep in mind that they are withholding a substantial amount of that. Okay.
Can I stop for you just a second?
Tell
We have somebody in the chat.
It's like an announcement I made.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
If anyone has any questions, I'll be announcing it to you.
Okay, cool. But like, if anybody has questions online right now?
No. That chat bubble is me saying,
Okay.
if you have
Got
questions,
you,
I'll
okay,
ask.
gotcha, all right, just wanna.
You're welcome to click on it. just
I don't wanna
share it,
ignore
'cause-
anybody.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know what job I'm doing, so. So the next one, industries, again, like I kind of touched on this, so when I say nonprofit and for-profit, so this is kind of that too, so you have your private industry where you're dealing with agriculture, real estate, construction, you know, it's funny is I do have real estate experience, so I've had rental property, so I've been involved with that personally, which is funny, so when they hired me, they're like, oh, you have real estate experience, I'm like, not this kind of real estate, but you know, they liked it just because I have the background. So the private equity is kind of like, you know, it might be like a multitude of different family firms together that make up one organization, private equity, or not just one. We're just dealing with individuals, professional services, technology, transportation, all the business stuff that you think about. And what's funny is like, you don't have to work for a CPA firm or a professional services firm. Like you can just go work directly with a firm and work in their corporate accounting department and do accounting stuff. But working for CLA, you're getting that experience working for a firm. So like whenever you move on, you notice like a lot of the jobs say must have CPA and work for a CPA firm. So like I didn't have that. Remember I told you I don't want to work for a CPA firm. That sounds awful. So looking back, I'm like, oh, I probably should have, you know, it would have been easier to move up in different companies if you had that CPA experience behind you. Regulated is federal government, financial institutions, healthcare, nonprofit, you know, like your United Ways, your YMCAs, you know, those types of things, or it could be Chamber of Commerce, financial institution. I think of a credit union. Oh my God, those so big. There's a lot of opportunity within the nonprofit. You're really surprised. State and local government would be like your Chamber of Commerce, economic development company, stuff like that. Any questions about?
I think you're doing a lot of nonprofit. I find that though.
Do you want to talk more about that?
I'm just curious. You are, but talk more.
Yeah. So I work in the nonprofit industry, but again, like I started in 1986 working in accounting. So I was a bag boy bagging groceries for Safeway, and I had really bad allergies, so it was really hard for me to go outside. I was like sneezing, ready to die. And so they had a bookkeeper position in the store. I'm like, can I do that? Like I'm 16 years old. They're like, sorry, you're not old enough. You have to be 18 to do that. I'm like, oh, fine, whatever. And then like a couple weeks went by that they tapped me on. It's like, Daryl, nobody applied for that job. Just don't tell them how you are. Just go in there and do it. And they gave me the keys. That's how I got started in accounting, and that was in 1986. And I'm still doing it, and they're still doing that to me. Like, even at this point, I don't even know what job I'm doing. They're still like, just do it. What the hell? What job am I doing? So I was doing for-profit. So I worked for Safeway, then I worked for a title company. I was like 21 years old, and I was in charge of like billions of dollars. It was crazy. So I was like, you know, when you sell your house, like I was working for a title company that had like 250 offices on the west side of the country. So like anytime somebody would sell their house, like I was a corporate treasurer and I was moving billions of dollars around every day. Like I'm 21. So it's just amazing, like, because I started so young at 16, like, you know, just getting that experience right out of the gate, taking a bookkeeping type of job is a great way to get started. So then after working for profits, then I'm like, around 2001, 2002, I got a job with the AIDS organization doing finance director work. And it's like, again, here's the keys. The last person left and quit on the spot, figure it out. I'm like, I don't have medical experience. Like, well, figure it out. So I did, and I'm still doing that. So that's how I got started in nonprofits, working for an AIDS organization. Then I worked for a United Way. Really good experience there, like a foundation type of thing where they actually bring in money and distribute it out. Really good experience there. I worked for a YMCA, Chamber of Commerce, and then I actually did consulting on my own, working with consultants too. Came on with it. A lot of opportunities, a lot of different ways to start. I think I'm an example of that.
All right, y'all, what questions do you have?
I have a question. You have to be an accounting major to get an internship?
Yes, sir. Kindly do this.
That's the one thing we have to do.
That's, yes. I'm serious, like, not even like information systems, unfortunately, like custody accounting.
I think it might change in the future though. Because I think, I'm not arguing with you.
No,
Because like, they keep telling us like, oh, we're a financial services institution, we're not just an accounting firm. But for an internship, yes.
For now, yeah, for now.
But for professionals later on, I see a lot of opportunity.
Well, that's the other thing, because the experienced professionals, I mean, because we have like
Yeah.
valuation, wealth advisory, biz ops, but in general,
Yeah.
we have the biz ops internship because Eli was a biz ops intern. However, I didn't see any requisitions for it this past, like in the fall. So anyway, I just know for sure, like, I've never heard of like a valuation internship at CLA, the wealth advisory internship at CLA. So I think in general, it's like audit, tax, and then possibly you can get into biz ops, but anyway, the point is, I just know that they're only hiring for accounting students.
What you could do is go down to your counselor and just put a minor in there. Thank you for answering.
Okay, anything else? Go ahead.
So since you guys sort of have a business that's outside of the typical like tax or audit whole thing, do you guys have sort of different busy seasons for those other areas of expertise? Or do they also have a fairly traditional like January to May busy season?
Yeah, so in the nonprofit world, there is a busy season outside of that. And so the 990s are actually due, typically most nonprofits, their fiscal year ends around June 30th. Not all, I would say a good 75% probably. They don't end at the end of the year like individual tax returns. So they usually end mid-year. And so then your 990 informational IRS tax reporting document is due 5 months after that. So like November 15th. So our busy season is like October, November, even starting in September. And then also before June 30th, of course, usually before the end of the fiscal year, your nonprofits are also working on audit prep, making sure all their books are clean, all their accounts are done, things are really clean. Then after the year end, there's like a couple of months before they go and get their audit done. So like the second half of the year is really busy in the nonprofit. So I would say the first half of the year is more of the individual tax related type stuff.
And the funny thing is, actually, what I wasn't expecting was, I think, when I was going to school here and people told me, I was interested in tax, so I can only speak about that, but they told me, like the first, until April 15th, we're so busy. And then the second busy season is like for the extension return. So possibly like August or October. But what I didn't realize is January, we are so busy because we're doing 1099s. We're finishing our year-end bookkeeping. And like even in tax, like I guess I have some kind of like business management work because I'm preparing the 1099s and also finishing the year-end bookkeeping. And then also in December, we're so busy, and usually I guess I was expecting more of a lull because there's tax planning to be doing and year-end projections. So I guess that was a surprise for me. And I guess as possibly depends on the firm. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's busy all year. I'm trying to think
It's
now,
busy
it's
all
like,
year.
when is the lull? I would say like September.
Not for me.
Take your vacation.
Not for me.
Maybe August might be a good month to take vacation. You know what's funny is like most people take off like the week after Christmas. It's like ghost town.
Yeah, it is good.
Because they have to. It's like, if I don't take time off now, I'm never gonna take time off. That's one thing you really have to plan in this business is because there are so many different deadlines. And so like to communicate with your manager, your director about if you do have vacation plans, like to make sure you're working in as advanced as possible. So you get coverage and, we do have that, so we try to like be really thoughtful because I personally got burned out like this month. I didn't take any time off for like 11 months. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting really irritated. I need to take some time off. But I did take a couple of days off last week. I had to do it. I'm coming into a busy season myself right now, a lot of stuff. So Yeah.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Okay, we have another presentation. However, I do not know how to do it. Thank you so much.
And the benefits are pretty decent, I thought. So like, we have, of course, your PTO, which is used for sick and vacation, and then, we have pretty good medical benefits, vision, dental, all that stuff.
Is your PTO like quality that you can accrue, or is it one of those like, nope, you just have to take it?
Yeah, we have to take it. They're not doing the accrual, and at first I was kind of scratching my head, like, how does that work? And that's why you have to
Thank you
look
so
at
much.
the manager and make sure you take the time. Which I kind of like, because a lot of times people that have things out like a accrual system, they bank all this, and they don't take this too long. That's not. You take it.
Yeah, because some people are like very unhappy with the non-accrual methods, because then it's like, you say I can use it all, but whenever I need it, I don't have to say. Like, no, I need it once.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's, again, yeah, you work with your boss and all that stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna, so this is our second presentation. We're gonna talk about tips to make the most of an internship. And here's our agenda. So actually, so I'm just curious, has anyone here done an internship? And if so, is there anything you wish you would have done differently, or maybe something that you could show everyone that you did well?
Oh, boy. Self-reflection. Oh, no.
Spit it out.
I guess maybe more general questions, because I was like very excited about my first internship. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be very much, and I really like the company. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to learn a lot about the company. And I feel like I could have learned more about like just general office etiquette, because I am a very loud and extroverted person. And so I worry sometimes that that's not what an office really needs. So it's like, yeah, maybe I should have asked more about like, how to handle yourself just in a general business environment, because internships don't have to be all about you're committed to this company for the next decade now. It's like, no, you're here for the next X amount of months. Learn.
It's a free country, right?
Okay, office etiquette. Anyone else?
I feel like for me, imposter syndrome was a big thing because I started my internship and there was this expectation for myself. Like I had an expectation for myself that I was required to know certain things, and I was not. It's very easy. I feel like they give you all of the resources you need. You just need to learn to be not hard on yourself. I see people right out there.
Yes. So we're gonna dive very deep into that right away, so you know. Okay. Anyone else?
I got some. I think for me, one of the most important things for my internship was learning to communicate in the beginning. Like talking to your manager and letting them know, like, say you got a lot of stuff you have to do. You should tell them, hey, I'm running on lunch. You need to get this done right now. Instead of just taking the lunch. You should really learn.
That's a good point. I mean, I'm not an intern and I still learn that. Like, oh my gosh, I gotta talk to my boss because I'm always like, if I don't get this out, like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you don't.
Okay.
For me, it was technology. So I had to, I quickly learned that the firm uses Google Calendar for everything and anything. And so, and the time frame as well. So it was Eastern time and I was like late to every meeting.
Oh, no.
So.
Did you find Google Calendars difficult? Like, I would just try to like schedule something and it would crash every freaking time I could.
Yeah, everyone would say, go to my calendar. Like I tried scheduling coffee chats and then again, just the time and then seeing their block time. I was like, okay, I would try to click in there, but then it would allow me to schedule a coffee chat, but then it would drop it because it was blocked and I just didn't. I was like, so why does it let me open?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was mainly that. I quickly learned.
Oh, you're okay. All right, so I think very important is for you to manage your expectations and I guess what you expect to get out of the internship. I think it's important to find out what your supervisors are expecting from you. So I think if you're stepping into your manager's office, you need a pen and paper. I promise you will forget everything they say if you walk out and hear. Can you hear it? I swear you're gonna forget everything. Okay. Stay humble and expect feedback. So very important. I think this is something that I have to tell like any intern. When you hear feedback from your manager, and possibly it's there are some cultural differences too. Sometimes the packaging is not maybe what you would expect, and maybe you feel like this person is being very hard on you. But the intention here is for you to learn and grow. And so regardless of the packaging, just know that feedback is a good thing. It's not a bad thing, and it's not to rip on you or be, extra hard on you. I think, when I was in new staff, I was very hard on myself. And possibly, I heard that here too. I think that from a 3-month internship, you should manage your expectations and know that you are not going to become any expert. The partners I work with are learning new things all the time. So you as an intern, there's no reason for you to expect to know everything. I think most people are satisfied with you making an effort. So do not expect to become an expert, because you will not become one.
Wait, say that last part again?
So you're not going to become an expert.
Oh, yeah, I learned that. Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, even with 35 years experience, like I know I'm not an expert at anything. In fact, the opposite, because like then you spread yourself so thin. Like you're doing all these different things, like, oh my gosh, I really need to focus on like a couple things. So try to remember. But yeah, leverage your buddy. So your buddy is there to offer you support and guidance. I think that's so important. I think that even if it's just a talk about, oh my God, I'm really struggling with this, or to complain, or to talk about good stuff. I mean, just to have that person that is there just to be a support to you if you are struggling or want to ask questions, or how should I go about this? Like I still do that. Like I have one person in the office that is a principal that I do that. Ty, and I have to shut the door sometimes. Yeah, I have to shut the door. And it's like nothing that CLA is doing wrong, but sometimes you're just in a crabby mood, or like, oh my God, I need to talk this through. I had a bad client that they're annoying, or then you feel better. It's so weird how that talk.
Yeah,
That talk.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's weird. Strategically gather your questions. I think that's a really good point. I think that sometimes people tend to pick up the phone after 2 minutes and want to. So I mean, it's okay to do that if it's something really pressing, but if you just have general questions, to save them up, and maybe a couple times a day, even like would be probably organized. But I mean, I don't mind people calling me and asking questions. So lose the embarrassment. I feel like I still at this age have to remember that because I'm always learning with technology that changes all the time too. I mean, at any age, at any point in your career, there's going to be something new that pops up. And even if you think you know everything, like for me, like I want to learn some new stuff and I don't know about it. Like younger people don't either, but like I want to learn how to automate this client. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to do that. But to lose the embarrassment, actually like call somebody like, hey, do you have any ideas on this or how to do that? So for sure. Set goals. Oh my gosh, I really need to learn this slide. So I'm one of those types of people that just likes to do it, get it done. Kind of like work on a little silo sometimes. I don't do that all the time, but sometimes that happens. And then you'll be working halfway into a project with a client and like, this would have gone so much better if I would have planned this out better. And like, and I'm talking about with clients, but just as a new person starting in a job, I think setting your goals for maybe it's, I really like international finance. Like that really, for me personally, excites me. So like, I probably should set my goals. Like, what does that mean? Like I've been working for 35 years. I'm going to start a new career again, maybe. Maybe the next 10 years, I want to work in international finance. So like I'm going to start, I've been starting to actually plant those seeds. And so keeping your mind for what really is your passion. Like sometimes I think with employers, they tend to put you where you're needed. So be really careful about that. Because could you imagine starting out like, I hate taxes. I don't want to do that. You may love it.
The best thing.
But yeah, so like, but if you hate it, it's like, make sure that you're doing what is your passion. And then you probably heard that, it's so cliche, but for sure, I wish I would have done more of that. Set goals to be accomplished at the end of the internship. I think that's wonderful, a wonderful point. Your resume really does get looked at. I have to tell you, I've looked at thousands of resumes, and you'd be amazed, like, right now, the job market's kind of like in the seller's market, like employees are very much wanted and needed. I've been through 4 of these, you know, there's fluctuations in the market. So, you know, say 3 years from now, the job market may change, there might not be as many jobs available. So take advantage of that now. Build up that resume now while the market's hot. Get your resume built to what you want it to look like and where you want to go, because that resume is the driver. So try to beef up that resume and make it look how you want it to go. You're in charge of your career. Especially important for interns. Oh my gosh. I mean, Jason has mentioned Eli is a very well-liked intern in our firm. He gets caught out. Like, so he's a very bright guy. He got promoted in January. He's been working on some projects with me, and he's worked on some projects as an intern last year. And just a hard worker, very smart. He's really like, he was running our 1099 process this year. So like he was taking on projects as an intern. So even as an intern, you know, you can say, oh, I want to do that. Like raise your hand. Like that's how I got started in accounting, working as a grocery store bag boy. I want to do that. Oh my gosh, you never know. If you don't ask, you won't get it. So don't be afraid. If you see something, you're like, oh, I don't know if I should ask. Like, no, be sure to ask for it. Set SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. I think that kind of speaks for itself, but I think that again, internships are a year.
Well, it depends. Well, CLA, we've had some interns that have worked like full time for like 2 years. Eli is working for like 2 years as an intern. I think Brett's internship is 3 months, right? So then, depends. It depends what the terms
So
are.
this could vary. You may not have time to get through all those, but try to do your best at whatever length of your internship is what you want to get out of it. So if you have a 3-month intern, you might not have as many. You might have more bigger or smaller ones. Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry, falling out the corner. Any other questions on that one?
I see the word short on time. Can you do the next 3 slides?
Sure. Stay organized and prioritize. So here's another one that I need to learn more about. So like, I'm one of those doers, like that, you know, working for a large organization, you need to be organized, especially for an accounting type firm, you know, dealing with numbers, be as organized as possible. Prioritization is very important. Like I like to come in the morning and look at my calendar, kind of plan out how my day is going to go, and even into the week. It's like I want to have control, because if you don't even just do that, it does go a long way as far as the organization piece. List of to-do tasks and deadlines, very important again, every morning. Writing down those tasks. It's amazing how writing down stuff, even though we have computers and we have Word documents, and I don't know, something about the pen to paper sometimes does help. So like for me personally, maybe this is really old school, but I do like to keep a binder, you know, with the 200 pages, and every day I have a date for every page. I come in the morning, and that's kind of how I get going. It's just something I like to do. Your day planner, I guess I just talked about organizing tasks in a planner or a calendar. There's so many good project manager software out there now, so that's something I personally am trying to get a hold of, especially with my clients. The project management piece, time planning, all of that stuff is so important. Without it, I think so inefficient if you don't do that. I think it's really underestimated. Develop professional relationships is really important. I mean, when I went into this firm, I didn't know anybody. Again, I haven't even met my boss. And so when I'm in the office, you know, I'm talking with people and building relationships, and that does a lot more than what you think. maybe like, why would you do that? Why do you want to build relationships? Well, like in my job, I have certain clients and I need resources. So if you're talking to people, you tend to find out stuff like, oh my gosh, I have some free time. I'm like, oh my God, I remember that Jan had some free time. Maybe she can help me on this site. Just little stuff like that. Goes a long way. Professional network. Oh, it's okay. That's okay. You said we're short on time, so
Yeah.
go ahead. Don't be so hard on yourself. I guess you want to do this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's just I think, like I said, as an intern, you're not going to retrain. It's okay to make the mistakes, and I think that if we're communicating, with our, if we're asking questions and if we're communicating with the in charges and managers, I think you really will be just fine. And I think the expectation there is that you do make mistakes, you're learning. It makes sense. So I do want to leave a little bit of time, one for questions, and then also to share with you all about the open requisition. So right now, we're not going to have the internship requisitions available until the fall semester. However, for those graduating seniors, we have our associate positions available in 5 of our 6 SoCal offices, and probably for a lot of you all, Pasadena is the closest, but Century City, Glendora, Carlton, Irvine are also options. And then also I want to invite for everyone to attend our summer experience program. This is our version of the summer leadership program, but last year, I don't have any more details at this time for you all in terms of whether it's in person or virtual. However, I can tell you all that last year we had a summer experience conference at the national level, and then we had one at the office level. So we had one for all 6 SoCal offices. And it was only like an hour, but just an opportunity for you all to network with some of the professionals and then also get your questions answered. So I think that the requisition for the summer experience program is not live yet, but do check our external CLA website to see when that does become available. And we're going to see if we can post it on Handshake too, so you guys can apply for it. And then, yeah, go ahead. I think we brought our business cards too, but go ahead and leave our email addresses, and please do contact us. And if you all have any questions, now's the time. All right. Thank you all. Thank you for your time.
Want to ask a question in front of everybody? Feel free to email me.
Yeah, I think we're going to be here to network for a
Before
couple.
people get up, let's try and get some marketing pictures with
Yes.
Zoom and everyone else.
And take flag, please. Take
I think we should
flag.
switch the camera so you can see everyone in one angle, and take a screenshot, and then also. Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying. Switch the camera.
I guess.